the northeast, and indeed across.
Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live, and I'm Cyril Stober. Now, it's exactly 19 years today since this democratic dispensation began. That's 19 years of uninterrupted civil administration. Of this period, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, was in power for 16 years. But from 2015, a new dispensation began with the election of President Muhammadu Buhari on the platform of the All Progressives Congress, APC. On being sworn in, President Buhari unfolded an agenda to tackle corruption, insecurity, and to promote job creation, agriculture, infrastructure, and power, among others. It's now 3 years of this administration. What are the key indicators showing in these areas? And how is the administration tackling the challenge of nation building in this multi-ethnic, cultural and religious society? These are some of the issues we'll be taking up tonight on NTA Tuesday Live as the nation marks another Democracy Day. But first, let's get to see this report by Timothy Yusuf.
The Muhammadu Buhari administration since inception took a three-dimension approach to governance. The revival of the economy, fighting insecurity and the fight against corruption, which is believed to be the hydra-headed monster devouring the economy. Setting the ball rolling, the administration came up with different policies and methods to achieve progress. A visible evidence of the success recorded by the administration is the restoration of security to the northeast by ending the scourge of Boko Haram terrorism in the country. Indeed, the terrorist organization has been degraded, and as it is now, residents in the affected parts walk freely without fear. Also, unlike before, the insurgents have no territory of their own anymore, as against their occupation of 14 local government areas in the northeast. The Sambisa forest, which used to be the stronghold of the terrorists, has been overtaken by the Nigerian military. The release of substantial number of the Chibok girls that were kidnapped by the terrorist group revived hope to Nigerians and restored the faith in the administration. The return of the Dapchi school girls was a further demonstration of the Buhari administration's commitment to the fight against insurgency.
This administration has achieved a lot. Look at the area of security. We've not achieved everything we want to achieve, but we've done so well. The integrity of the nation was really seriously affected, but today at least we have contained the problems in the northeast to a reasonable degree.
In the area of security in Nigeria, I could see improvement even from the airport, that there's a lot of changes when it comes to securities. I mean, the fear is no more the way it used to be.
Anti-corruption fight of the administration has been said and seen to be yielding more fruit. It was a major element that drove the governing APC campaign and subsequent election into office. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, believed to have taken the bull by the horn by being the foot soldier in the agenda, has recorded a lot of success with the introduction of the whistleblower policy, which has helped in the recovery of monies into billions of naira.
This administration is confronting corruption. You know, I mean, we can talk of the details about it. You can't doubt, you know, that we are now naming, shaming, and damning corruption. That's extremely remarkable.
Presidential approval for the implementation of United Nations Environmental Program UNEP Report 2010 for the cleanup of Ogoniland with regards to oil pollution and inclusion of stakeholders in the process of implementation is another major success of the present government. Down to the grassroots is the social investment program, which has direct impact on the people. The social investment program of the Buhari administration is aimed at empowering the unemployed, especially the youth, and creating a better welfare to the people in order to boost the economic growth of the country. Basically, 4 programs were created under the social investment programs, which include N-Power program, homegrown school feeding program, conditional cash transfer, and government enterprises entrepreneurship program. And they have been pursued vigorously by this administration side by side.
I say we have done well. The president made a commitment to restore the economy to the path of growth, and we're very well on our way to a strong growth. So we are doing well.
Another giant stride of the Buhari administration is the massive focus on agriculture as a way of diversifying the nation's economy from overdependence on oil.
The next very few years, doctors will declare that Nigeria is soon going to be free of cancer, which kind of imported food kept on the high sea, expired, and then made of chemicals that preserves are no more served in Nigeria. So cancer will now be a thing of the past.
As it is, 3 years of an administration with such obvious results deserve a pass mark and definitely should be re-elected for a second term in office.
I don't know Buhari as a person. I have not met Buhari one-on-one. He doesn't know me. But I must tell you this. Buhari has been the best thing Nigeria have ever got. Buhari, you have not gotten the lack of Buhari in this country. Buhari is a man of people, a man of integrity, a man of caliber, and a man that is really determined to change this country. And he's doing it.
I want to congratulate the Buhari administration for the landmark achievements in terms of infrastructure. When we consider that in years past, we did not have so much in terms of road, railway, water, and other sources of development. But under the Buhari's administration, much money exceeding over 500% of what was released by the previous administrations for capital projects.
In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NT News.
That report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let me introduce our guest to you. I'd like to welcome to this program Alhaji Lai Mohammed, who is the Minister of Information and Culture. Minister, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you.
All right. We're also joined tonight by Dr. Chidia Maduekwe, who's Director General of the Nigerian Film Corporation. Thanks for being here tonight.
Happy you're having me today.
Right.
Thank you, viewers. Yeah.
Okay. And joining us from our Kaduna Network Studio is Professor Kabir Mato. Is Commissioner for Agriculture and Forestry in Kaduna State. He's also a political scientist. So good to see you, Professor Kabir Mato.
Cyril, good evening.
Okay. Well, as usual, we acquaint you with the procedure on this program. We say this every Tuesday. At the appropriate time, you can get to be part of the discussion in the studio. The various platforms will be on your screen. We advise you to take advantage of them. However, for those who call in, we say this all the time. If you're going to call in, the numbers will be on your screen. But if your call gets through to the studio, do us a favor. Just turn down the volume of your TV set. Reduce the volume. That way, we'll avoid the hurlback or the echo. And the best way to know that your call has been passed through to the studio is you'll see your name appear on screen. Once that happens, it means you're through. Just go right ahead with your question or comment. Don't bother too much about the greetings. Just go straight and keep it short so other people can get on the platform too and contribute their views and ideas. So once again, welcome to NTA Tuesday Live. It's Democracy Day and, well, the issues are clear. So let's begin, Minister, if we might, with you. The President has asked Nigerians to keep the faith with his administration. But let's turn it around a bit. 3 years of the Buhari administration, can we say that the government has justified the mandate, the massive mandate that it received from Nigerians?
Unequivocally, yes. Mr. President has justified the confidence, the trust reposing him by Nigerians in the 2015 election. This is because Mr. President campaigned majorly on 3 issues. He promised Nigerians that he was going to address effectively the issue of insecurity, especially in the northeast then. He promised Nigerians that he was going to revamp the economy, and he did promise us, Nigerians, that he would fight against corruption. And I can say with all sorts of modesty that Mr. President has kept his words and the social contract with Nigerians. I'll start with the economy. By the second quarter of 2016, Nigeria had officially entered into recession. But it's instructive to know that the journey to recession actually started in 2011. Our GDP in 2011, when oil was selling for about $140 a barrel, was actually about 5.39%. By 2015, even though oil was still selling for between $80 and $100 a barrel, it had nosedived to about 2.5%. So it was a matter of time for us to enter recession. But the good thing is that as soon as we came in 2015, we saw the signals, we saw the signs, and we embarked on aggressive economic reforms. And within 2 quarters, not only were we out of recession, we recovered at a time when oil prices were very low, because our promise and resolve to diversify the economy took us out of recession. And that's largely through agriculture, mining, and other services. So we were able to get out of recession within 2 quarters, and were able to start on our path to diversifying the economy. Now, it's also instructive to know that between 2015 and today, we've succeeded in doubling our foreign reserves. We inherited a foreign reserve of about 23.7 billion. Today, our foreign reserve has reached 48 billion. Within also these last 3 years, we climbed 24 steps in the World Bank ranking of ease of doing business. And this is again as a result of the reforms we embarked upon. And I would also talk, while still talking on the economy, I'll talk on what we have done in the area of infrastructure. We have spent an average of 1.3 trillion naira in 2016 and 2017 budget year, investing in infrastructure. This is unprecedented in the history of this country. And that is why it's possible for us to raise power generation from the 2,690 megawatts which we inherited today to over 7,000 megawatts. And we achieved this by providing a 701 billion assurance guarantee for all our GENCOs, assuring them that as long as they produce power, they will not have to wait for the DISCOs to pay them. And that's why today we generate 7,000 megawatts of power, and for the first time we do distribute 5,000 megawatts of power. And we are very confident that before the end of this year, an additional capacity of 2,000 megawatts will be added to our grid. Now, I spoke about the diversification of the economy, especially agriculture. Mr. President launched the Anchor Brass program in November 2015 in Kebbi, if I remember. Before then, we were importing 644,000 metric tons of rice a year, and that was costing us about $1.65 billion every year. Today, we have cut down that importation to 24,000 metric tons. But not that alone. We've been able to grow the number of rice farmers from 5 million in 2015 to over 11 million today, which means not only have we, created, or we are nearing self-sufficiency in rice production, but we've also been able to create, more farmers and more jobs. Now, still on the economy, Nigerians, I think, must remember that when we came in 2015, the economy was in doldrums. But today, all the indices are showing a revived economy, to the extent that the confidence that the international investors have in our economy is responsible for the investor and exporters forex window created by the central bank to be generating about $1 billion every week. And within the last 1 year, we will generate about $45 billion from just that investors and exporters window.
All right.
Now, I'm sure.
Okay, well.
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll ask you to pause for a while.
Okay.
There's so many other issues
Right.
here,
Okay.
and we still have the rest of the night to
No problem.
x-ray these.
No problem.
But let's come to Dr. Maduekwe. 3 years. We might say, well, we'll ask you the same thing and say, look, in 3 years, can Nigerians say we're better off than we were?
Certainly, looking at the data, and they don't lie, Nigerians should be able to know that they are better off, particularly when you remove the spin, when you remove the fake news, when you remove the cynicism to what stars us as the facts. You had Honorable Minister reeling it out. It is factual. The data is there. But we keep having this confusion of those who have lost election, and unfortunately for 3 years, they have refused to funnel into the positive vision or the agenda of this administration. And they keep going with the sing song that nothing has happened. It will be necessary to inform ourselves that change is not synonymous with miracle. Even though you may have a miraculous change, that does not mean that change itself can take the place of miracle. Change is not a 100-meter dash. It is a marathon. It endures. Things are put in place, and at the end of the day, you will see it. We don't like going to the past, but there's no way you can know where we are without looking at the past. It is important to know that within the last 3 years, the president or this administration have been able to run just 2 budget cycles of their own, 2016 and 2017. And within these 2 budget cycles, we have gone into the fundamental economics 101 for a country that is in recession, which is what you couldn't achieve during your boom period, which is to save. We came into the bust period not created by us, bust period that preceded us. People keep confusing the wider public that the president came, it took him 6 months to appoint minister, as if that is why we went into recession. That is total fallacy, because even from the report of the powerful economic minister of the past regime, she has stated it clearly, and I don't know how high you can be in the management of the economic affairs of this country in that regime, greater than Okonjo-Iweala, that recession preceded this regime. And what have we been doing since we came? The fundamental things we've been doing are 2 which are globally recognized as things that must be done. 1, increase productivity. 2, put money into the system. even though we have been earning less revenue than the past administration, we have had the political will to put in over 30% of our capitals into productivity. We have had the political will to bring about subsidies, to bring about grants, bailouts, in order to stimulate the economy. I wonder why we cannot celebrate all this. Because what we are doing here is exactly what Obama did when he met recession in America. So why would we be clapping hands for Obama's success story in America? We will not clap hands for Buhari's success story in Nigeria. We should celebrate. Today we should be happy because the same global template applied in America is what Buhari has applied in Nigeria. And the result is showing.
I think I would just want to corroborate what Chido had just said. And you see, for the first time, like I said, for the first time in the history of Nigeria, we've had a government that has invested about 1.3 trillion annually on infrastructure and has actually faithfully invested about 30% of its budget in capital projects. But in particular, he made mention of an issue which I think I want to assist him. That is, apart from investing in infrastructure, many Nigerians don't know that this government has supported state governments with over 1.9 trillion naira in the last 2 years to pay salaries and pension arrears. And this had come in form of budgets for support facility, Paris Club refund, and infrastructural loans to these states. Because the government, even though constitutionally we are not compelled to so do, but it shows the kind of administration we are running, that irrespective of party affiliation, we've made available across board by 1.3 trillion, sorry, by 1.9 trillion naira in support to states. And just before I know you are eager to go to my2, because while we're still talking about the, about what we have been able to achieve in less than 2 years, I think it's one area that's very easily overlooked, and that's the area of our investment of our social investment program. You see, never in the history of this country has any administration taken it upon itself to impact positively on the lives of Nigerians. Today, through our own feeding school program, we feed 8.2 million pupils every school day. And in the process, not only have we helped the economy and agriculture, but we've also created jobs for 87,000 cooks. And this program is across 24 states, not just APC states, across the country. Now, this to us is important in the sense that this is one cardinal principle of the administration, because we believe that unless we invest in your young ones, the future of your country is not assured. And we've had a lot of experience in this homeschool feeding, one of which is that it has increased school enrollment by almost 25% in certain parts of the country. At the same time, it has helped with nutrition of the children and also their mental alertness. I know you are ready to go back to Dr. We'll come back.
Well, we'll still speak more on that. But even as we speak, we have been joined on this discussion by the governor of Borno State, and Governor Kashim Shettima is joining us on this discussion. He joins us from Maiduguri Network Center. We'd just like to welcome Governor Kashim Shettima to this program officially and say, well, it's glad that you're joining us here. There's so many issues we want you to talk about. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Hello?
All right. Okay, we shall return to you in just a moment. But we have Professor Kabiru Matu in our Kaduna Center, and we would want him to give us a perspective of the political, journey so far in this 3 years of the Buhari administration. Professor Kabiru Matu.
Well, thank you very much, Cyril. I think the last 3 years have really been serious, as far as the political journey of Nigeria is concerned, given the fact that the government came and met a system that was in ruins, a political system that was almost totally collapsed, and therefore the option that was left to the government is either to continue to play along the traditional line and pattern which Nigerians and the political establishment especially were used to, or seriously take the issue of changing the mantra of leadership from evading very serious national issues, to that of, addressing them. And I think, therefore, this in itself closely, therefore, relates to the issue that Dr. Madueke was talking about, giving the opposition, after a few years, a few months, the opportunity to rise, and begin to sentimentalize on issues which they actually are responsible for destroying in the 16 years that the PDP has held sway in Nigeria from 1999 up to 2015. Politics has not been easy, really, because government is left with no option than to look at the very serious crises and issues that are bedeviling Nigeria and deciding positively, taking very decisive decisions, in order to be able to right the wrongs that are being done. So this has made really politics very uninteresting, especially to the very few greedy political elites that are used to reaping from where they never saw, and a political elite that was tragically parasitic in nature and, living fat, on the collective tilt of the Nigerian people. So the very fact that the government of the APC in the last 3 years has tried to take decisions on the basis of the majority will of the Nigerian people in itself, is seen as being presented by opposition forces as something that is abnormal, something that is unusual, and therefore all manner of campaign of calumny seems to be the way. But then, of course, the excitement that is coming out of all this is that it is certain that Nigerians who are in the majority and who are silent, who have been victims of policies, are now in the full picture of realizing the fact that for the first time in several years they are having a government that is facing policy from the majoritarian point of view as against what we are used to. So this, in itself has severely, affected the glamour. And that's why when people say that it's a new beginning and, redefining governance, I would like to agree with that because obviously for the APC government to be able to make a headway and, of course, realize the achievements that are being recorded at the moment and looking forward, it is obvious that the traditional pattern that politics was played in Nigeria will have to shift. We will have to move away from deciding for a few who sit on top of the entire society and, allocate a large quantum of the resources of the society for their own selfish aggrandizement against, the popular will of the Nigerian people. And that's why, of course, the Minister of Information is talking about the massive investment in infrastructure unequaled, in the history of at least this civil rule administration from 1999 until, 2015. So I think the political narrative so far, especially now that 2019 is approaching, a lot of those who feel the system is not in their favor, of course, I will expect they will continue to even come out even stronger with a lot of criticisms. But like I said, the beautiful part of it is that majority of the Nigerian citizens are now realizing the fact that in the last 3 years, there is a government in place. And I think what people have always argued is that there is a need for the majority of the people in this country to realize that the rot that we found in place was colossal. Few individuals in this country are wealthier than several states. Not through industry, not through any, hard work, but simply through patronage and, the leakages that we had within the Nigerian system. And of course, any beneficiary of this will come out strongly with all the resources at his or her disposal in order to be able to ensure that bad names is given to all these very proactive policies of government that are geared and intended at, correcting the old situations and then bringing a new life, which is the real change that I think the Nigerian people have asked for, and obviously they are getting it.
Thank you, Prof. I will return to you in just a moment, but there's still so much about the infrastructure to talk about. But at this point, let's go back to one of the key issues. Just before this administration came in, and in the early days of this administration, it was one of the things the president committed himself to, and that's talking about insecurity, particularly in the northeast of Nigeria. And it's a good thing, like we introduced to you, Governor Kashim Shettima has joined us, and you would know, of course, all our viewers would agree that Borno was the hotbed, the epicenter of the insurgency. And Governor Kashim Shettima, you have run an administration in Borno State from the period when there was an administration and when this whole thing was right there on the front burner, and with the coming of this current administration, 3 years now. Let's get it from your perspective. What has been the approach, the difference in approach and the results, and how is it like in the northeast, particularly Borno, in terms of insecurity?
Thank you so much for giving me the platform and linking me up with my friend, Mr. Lai Mohammed and Dr. Maduike. It's quite interesting that Nigerians suffer from memory amnesia. It's not only baffling and amazing, but stultifying and heartbreaking that 3 to 4 years ago, the people in the Northeast were facing real existential threats. We were on the verge of extinction as a people and as a civilization. Akin to the siege on Sarajevo between 1992 and 1996. Maiduguri, for instance, was effectively under siege. Along Maiduguri-Biu Road, the end of Nigeria was actually about 10 kilometers from Maiduguri, a village called Delwa. Tungushe was the end of Nigeria between Maiduguri-Baga Road. And on your way to Biu, on your way to Bama, Kondiga was the end of Nigeria. Maiduguri was under siege. We were facing real existential threats until we can call it almost a divine intervention before the Buhari administration came into being. And there has been a sea change in our fortune security-wise. About 20 to 22 local governments were either totally or partially occupied by the Boko Haram out of 27 local government areas in Borno State. Now the entire state has been liberated from the shackles of the demented monsters called Boko Haram. So to other Nigerians in other parts of the country, they can enjoy the privilege of pontificating on other issues. But to the people of Borno and the Northeast, security was not a subject of philosophical dispute. The security challenges was a real existence, was all about real existence. And we remain eternally indebted. We remain eternally grateful to the Buhari administration from saving us from the seeming abyss. So it's quite amusing when other Nigerians tend to pour venom on the Buhari administration. Because 4 years ago, there was palpable tension in the country. Every single feature, every single procture line in this country was deliberately manipulated for political ends. Nigerians should remember that. We are heaving a sigh of relief in the Northeast. Yes, we are having pockets of challenges here and there. But it is pertinent to mention that the Northeast constitutes 1/3 of the total landmass of Nigeria. Borno, for instance, is 20 times the size of Lagos, is 14 times the size of Abia State, is 3 times the size of the Southeast region fused into one. So, and these demented monsters called Boko Haram dwell on the oxygen of publicity. The more havoc, the more killings they inflict on our people, the more their rating increases in the international jihadist community. So it will take time, certainly, to wipe them off, but they have been sufficiently degraded to such a level that they no longer pose a potent threat to the corporate existence of this nation.
Thank you, Governor. We'll be back with you in a short while, but our first caller on this program is already on the line, and this is Bagudu calling in from Abuja here. Hello, Bagudu.
Hello?
Yes, go right ahead.
Hello?
Well, I think we've lost that call from Bagudu there. Let me just state this once again. Once your name appears on screen, it means your call is through. Just go right ahead with a question or comment. We're back here in Abuja, Minister. Well, we're taking the different sectors now.
Right.
And we've touched a little bit on the economy. We've touched on security. We've touched on the political composition of the country in the past 3 years. But again, one of the key things still remains the fact that Nigerians want to say, today, we can afford to say there's food on the table, and that's what it's all about. Has the government reached a level where Nigerians can say that?
Well, you see, we must take things in the proper context, which is what was the situation when we came in 2015, what is the situation today? And I think let's look at the inflation, let's look at employment, let's look at, once again, the economy, because those are the factors that will determine whether you're going to have food on the table or not. Then, of course, we also have to talk about, corruption. Now, the truth of the matter is that the 4 components of the of the social intervention program of this government are the Empower, which has employed about 200,000 unemployed graduates into the system. It's the conditional cash transfer, which up to today we've been able to, pay on a monthly basis 5,000 naira to 297 poorest and most vulnerable Nigerians. Is the JEEP, which is the Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program. And in 2016 alone, the Bank of Industry disbursed a sum of about 160 billion naira, to different people. But we have been able to touch at least 300,000 cooperatives and individuals in this JEEP. And of course, I've spoken briefly about the home feeding school program, which I say today touches about 8.2 million. So directly, our social intervention program has touched about 9 million Nigerians on a daily basis or on a monthly basis. Now, like I said, if you look at job creation is not just white-collar jobs. Now, I just told you here that we have been able to grow the number of rice farmers from the 5 million we met in 2015 to over 11 million today, which means an extra 6 million farmers have been created. We've been able to increase the number of integrated rice processing mill from the 14 that we met to 21 today, and also along that chain, been creating jobs. We've also been able to revitalize and overhaul 14 fertilizer blending plants. And in the process, not only have we created jobs, we've been able also to give at a very cheap price of 5,500 per 50 kilogram bag, 10 million bags of fertilizer. Right. And again, in that process, creating jobs along the value chain. So when people talk about what has been our impact on the common people, this is our scorecard. All right. Now, and it's not, you see, it's not just that, because more often than not, Nigerians would say, we have not seen any difference. You see, when a country goes into recession and recovers from a recession, there's a lag period of between 8 to 15 months before you can go back to the pre-recession days. But the good thing is that not only have we come out of recession, but our growth has been consistent. And this last quarter, our growth was 1.95%, which is quite an improvement over the first quarter of 2017.
All right. Okay, Minister, we'll ask you to hold on a while. And from Kaduna is Mohammed on the line. Is Mohammed still with us? All right. Hopefully, at some point in time, those calls will come through. Just keep the calls coming through. And remember, as soon as your name appears, go right ahead and turn down the volume of your TV set so we avoid the holdback.
I'm sorry, because before we go on, you see, it's very important. I made a point just, a few minutes ago about the support that the federal government has been giving to states. You see, but for this support of 1.9 trillion naira, many states would have been unable to pay salaries. Many states would have been able to pay pension. Many states would have retrenched their staff. And it's to the credit of this administration that we came in, not one single staff has been retrenched. It's just important that we keep that.
All right. We'll also look at the labor scorecard as well. But back to the phones. From Maiduguri this time, we have Idris calling in from Maiduguri. Hello, Idris. Go right ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, go right ahead, please.
Good evening, everybody there.
Good evening.
Congratulations to my minister, my governor, and almost everybody there. Okay. First of all, we give credit to the present administration. Scorecard is credit. We give them credit because, as we said, and my minister has already said, there must be a measurement, yardstick for measurement. And the yardstick for measurement, number one, is protecting life and property of the citizens. And therefore, we congratulate them because my governor has already said it. Almost everywhere, 5 routes going to Maiduguri has been sealed before this administration comes in. It's only one route that you have, that is from Damaturu to Maiduguri. And now almost all the routes has been cleared. So our scores there is credit to the present administration. And we are loyal to this administration and we will continue to be loyal to this present administration. Unfortunately, my problem is that the legislature has become, let me say, the legislature is an anti-democrat. That means they are anti-progressive because most of these legislators are not performing very well, particularly with regard to bills that will affect directly on the masses. I saw one legislator from Borno who was talking about the number of bills being passed by the legislator. It's not the number of bills that's been passed by the legislator is concerned. How does this bill affect the life of the people? Just like my governor was just saying, how does it affect the life of the people? Because the most important thing is life and property of the citizens, which my governor was duly. Anything happened everywhere, My governor has to run. Wherever he is, he must come to Borno and stay with us. So this is what we are concerned. It's not about the number of bills. How does it affect the life of the direct, particularly the masses? Number one. Number two, I still complain about the third arm of government, that is the judiciary. The judiciary are not performing well when it comes to anti-corruption because up to today, the anti-corruption bill is laying there at the National Assembly. When they are busy passing other bills, first, second, and third reading, the anti-corruption bill is lying there. So congratulations to Mr. Buhari and his team. Congratulations to every progressive over there. Congratulations to Nigeria, and congratulations to my governor. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Idris, calling in from Maiduguri. Dr. Chidia, let's come to you. And you hear this being used all the time, the dividends of democracy. And ordinarily people would say, well, what are these dividends? Is it infrastructure, or is it, you know, freedoms, which people enjoy guaranteed under the Constitution? For you, what would be the biggest dividend of democracy in those past 3 years?
In the last 3 years, the dividends of democracy are very palpable. Take, for example, the very basic fundamental activity of bringing food to the table, because you must feed yourself in order to protect yourself and to even live. Today, like the Honorable Minister mentioned, we have moved from a very significant population of farmers to several millions. The fact is there that most of our farmers today are net exporters of their produce. And it's a free market. You cannot stop them. You cannot stop those from Mali, Bamako, Niger to come into Nigeria to buy rice. And when they buy it in Safe. So you find out that the farmers over here are making some foreign exchange from their effort. And they have begun to live well, better than they lived before. As a matter of fact, there is a new definition of who is a millionaire in Nigeria. And that is who can produce million metric tons of rice. Today we know our big entrepreneurs are all going to that business. Koschari is there, Dangote is there, and many other people. So that is the way forward. Before now, nobody was thinking that we should be producing rice. From a country that was dependent on about 580,000 metric tons of rice, so now barely getting about 58,000 metric tons. I think that is a tremendous improvement. So when you talk about dividend of democracy, we have seen that inflation is contracting from 18% at the time, 18.7%, to just recently about 12%. So one cannot say that is not a significant improvement. We have also seen that rapid infrastructural development is cutting across all over the geopolitical zones of Nigeria. When people spend 10 hours on road and all of a sudden they're spending 3 hours, that is a huge democratic dividend. I have mentioned here many times, the farmer cannot evacuate his goods because the roads are not there. But President Muhammad Buhari came and realized that first thing first, we must invest in the area of infrastructure. And I want to tell you that it is that huge investment in infrastructure that has trickled down into job creation. Many people are being recalled to be part of the contractors that are putting this road back in place. We probably are not capturing the data. But when you recall, you remobilize and bring your workers to site, it means that your wife and children at home are getting some feedback. We cannot be spending in the last 2 years 2.6 or 7 trillion naira on infrastructure, and then we want to play ostrich and say there is no trickle down on dividend of democracy. There is certain trickle down. We look at the issue of security, which is very critical. We cannot be degrading Boko Haram the extent we have degraded it, because we have very professional military that are attacking them. And we want to wish it away and think that our military are doing nothing, considering the life they are putting on the road. It is good to look at other global best practices Today, what we have in this country is terrorism. We have insurgents. The governor has just told us that Northeast about 1/3 the entire population of the country. At a point, this country had the highest number of IDP. Are we going to disregard the importance of displacing our own people in our own country? Most of the beans we eat in Nigeria comes from the Northeast. Let me not even talk about the cattle. And we all know that haven't affected us from that area. It affected the entire country. A country like Kenya, as we speak today, is faced with the same kind of challenge we are faced with in Nigeria. You have the El Shabaab, because the country, the army of Kenya said, we are going to deal with them. From time to time, you find El Shabaab who are, militants, insurgents, Muslim fundamentalists, walking across Kenya to adopt people, women, for sex slaves. But guess what? The country, the people in Kenya are united. They are resolved to work with the Kenyan army and give all necessary support to make sure that the menace of El Shabaab is eliminated. Is it today or yesterday we heard about the gunman attack in Brussels? So which means terrorism is an ongoing thing. But what happens here in our own case? We want to start bringing religion and ethnicity into it, which if we continue on that line, it will not serve us of any good in this country. Let us use this opportunity to understand that we do not have to stoke the fire, which when it catches, will catch everyone. The truth remains that we have insurgents and the army is doing their best. It is happening in other countries like Kenya, even in a civilized country like stable country like Belgium. So we need to give support to our army. We need to understand what government is doing. We need to applaud government because it is what they have done so far that is maintaining safety.
All right, back to the phones now. We have a Charles calling in from Anambra. Hello, Charles. Is Charles still on the line? Okay. Just try and keep the calls coming through. At some point in time, I assure you those calls will stabilize. But Professor Kabir Matu in Kaduna, yes, there are so many issues to talk about. But let me just dwell a little longer on agriculture because that's your turf right now as Commissioner for Agriculture. How is the Nigerian farmer rated today? That's on one side. And how far with food security? Yes, you are a player now at the state level. So let's begin to go down and see what do we see with agriculture at state and local government level.
Thank you very much, Siri. Let me begin by saying I am not in agriculture. I am in Ministry for Local Government Affairs, but I've been in agriculture for a while, and I think I am competent to say, a word or two about that. But before getting into that, I think there is this very important thing which I like to bring on the table. And it is the fact that it's unfair to begin to look at the dividends of democracy from the viewpoint of, putting food on the table. Democracy is a very fluid concept, and what you call dividends of democracy in one part of the world will be different from what it will be on the other, in the other part of the world. In the case of Nigeria, dividends of democracy, as has been rightly captured by my colleagues, especially in the Abuja studio there and in Maiduguri, is that, here is a nation that was badly bitten by the menace of corruption. And it had become an attitude, a way of life, that in fact young people aspire to get to positions and become corrupt. When you see young people in universities, they are talking about how to amass wealth without necessarily building the capacity to work for this. It became so institutionalized all over the place, and all of a sudden you have a government that is fighting it squarely and bringing back into the very forefront of our national life the issue of probity, the issue of sanity, the issue of accountability. I think there cannot be greater dividend of democracy than this. The issue of insecurity, which of course, affected most part of the country, especially in the Northeast, and that has been gradually and is being gradually addressed, in my view, is another very serious dividend that is far over and above the issue of putting food on the table of Nigerians. After all, if Nigerians are not eating today, it is basically a product of the long decade of massive corruption that has taken place in this country, especially in the 16 years of the PDP administration. And that's why, closely related to that also, the question of diversifying the economy and focusing more on agriculture became very relevant. Minister of Information is talking about rice production. It's not only rice production per se, but it's virtually in Kaduna here, for instance, we have one of the largest investment that has accrued into this country in the last 3 years is in the area of agriculture. The Olam feed mills, the Olam hatchery. And so maize producers, soybeans, etc., have gone back to the farm and are busy producing in very massive quantities because ready buyers are found all over the place. To me, this constitutes a very central aspect of what you call food security. You have food security is, we are coming from a scenario where the nation was importing virtually every bit of a thing that we consume. Maize, just name it. But today, in fact, farmers are arguing very, stoutly that government should do everything within its powers to ensure that the importation of maize, in Kaduna here, for instance, a lot of maize producers have been complaining because by the time maize is imported from outside of the country, the tendency is, because we're still in the process of, revolutionizing agriculture, and so cost of production is still a little bit higher. And so if imports of maize is not prohibited by the federal government, the implication of that is that the locally produced maize here will continue to remain because the cost of production is high, so it will be a little more expensive than the one that is imported. And so what I think...
Yes, Prof, we'll get to you in just a moment. I know you still have a lot to say about that, but let's try and get in this call from Kanu. Sunday, who's calling in from Kanu? Okay, do we still have Sunday on the line from Kanu?
Good evening.
Yes, Sunday, go right ahead. You're on.
Yeah, I'd like to loud some of the... I'm talking, are you hearing me?
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening, just go right ahead.
All right, I'd like to commend the speakers in the studios for their articulations of some of the achievements of President Muhammadu Buhari. But I'd like to beam my searchlight on the security challenges we're having in the country right now. I want to draw my attention particularly to that of Benue State. We understand that the headsmen are kind of killing people over there. And recently we saw on national television the funeral of some rebels. So I'd like to draw the attention of the minister. What is the present administration doing to quell the influx of Fulani headsmen in the North Central, particularly in this case? And then, but what about the agricultural sector that is so much talked about? What is the assurance that there will be enough food security in the next 4 or 5 years, owing to the fact that we buy rice now at high cost and other items? Thank you.
All right. Sunday, that's the question. Well, good. Thanks for calling in. Well, the minister will respond to that question after this timeout, and we will now go to an issue which Professor Kabiru Matu had started talking about in his last contribution, which is the big matter of corruption. So stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly after this break. The minister will respond to the issue of headsmen, farmers' clashes, food security, and, of course, corruption.
Sinoni Restaurant, serving authentic, delicious, and healthy Chinese cuisine.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Minister of Information and Culture bring on this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying with us. Just before the break, Sunday called in and he had a question or two for the Minister of Information and Culture. He talked about security in Benue, referring particularly to the issue of herdsmen-farmers clashes and what's been done to ameliorate the situation and to ensure food security. Minister.
Thank you very much. I must say from the outset that the situation, the crisis in Benue State in particular, between the farmers and herdsmen, is neither religious nor ethnic. And I think it's important to get this narrative correctly. I know that many naysayers have been trying to put a spin on this unfortunate issue. And they've now tried to confuse the issue and to make it an ethnic and religious issue, which is not at all. Actually, what is happening in Benue State in particular has to do more with the fallout of demography, climate change, environment, and economic and social issues. And I'll just give you a few examples. In 1963, for instance, the population of Nigeria was just 52 million. Today, we're about 190 million. And what that means is that the space, the food, the water, the grass available for 52 million people in 1963 today is being shared by about 190 million people. So clearly there's going to be tension. Two, I'll also go to the environment. The Lake Chad in the same 1963 occupied 25,000 square kilometers. And it was supporting 35 million lives from about 6 African countries: Nigeria, Niger, Cameroon, Chad, Central African Republic, and Benin. Today, the same Lake Chad has shrunk by 90%. And all we have today is less than 2,500 square kilometers of water. This, again, has brought its own tension, which means those 35 million lives that used to depend on Lake Chad for fishing, for agriculture, for water, have to move southward. And this, coupled with pure criminality, is the issue we are addressing today in Benue State. And I'll also give you just two quick examples to disabuse anybody's mind about the real issue. Zamfara State, unfortunately, has probably lost more lives to cattle rustling than what is happening in Benue State today. Yet the cattle rustlers in Zamfara are Muslims and Fulanis, and the victims are also Muslims and Fulanis. So you cannot actually impute religious or ethnic motive there. Or take the example of Kebbi State, where 70% of all the inmates in Kebbi prison are as a result of farmers and others clash. Yet the farmers in Kebbi are Muslim and Fulanis. The herdsmen are also Muslim and Fulani. So we must get this fact straight. But having said that, what has the government done? The government, first and foremost, is persuading the communities that they must live together and tolerate one another. You see, unknown to many people, the first recorded clash of herdsmen farmers in Nigeria, especially in Benue State, was in 1947. So, but over time, there have been some mechanism through which the herdsmen and the Fulanis, the herdsmen and the farmers have been living together. And I remember when Mr. President went to Taraba, his appeal to the national rulers is that, look, we politicians will be there for just, a period of time, after which the herdsmen and the farmers will have to live together. That we must go back to those traditional mechanisms through which we were able to accommodate one another. But having said that, the federal government has today set up, deployed a joint military force to Taraba, to Benue, to Kaduna, and Zamfara states in an attempt to address the issue of cattle rustling, herdsmen farmers clash, the sheer criminality which is going on in some parts of the state. Also, only recently, the Lieutenant Buratai, I think he commissioned a forward operation battalion in Benugwari in Kaduna State, also to address this issue. And the Air Force has set up what they call a quick response wing to also address the issue of herdsmen farmers clashes in Benue and Taraba states in particular. But you see, we must be very careful not to try to ethnicize or impute religion into what is largely an environmental, demographic, social and economic issue. And the position of government is to persuade both parties to adopt technology. And I'm happy to say that we are succeeding. We are talking to the various groups, and especially to the herdsmen. We've been trying to persuade them that ranching is the solution. But of course, this has to be gradual, because some of these issues are sometimes cultural, not just economic. For instance, it has been proven that a cow in a ranch will give you 10 liters of milk a day, while a cow which is just grazing around can only give you 1 liter of milk a day. But it's not just about the economy, it's about the cultural values attached to cows. And I'm happy to say again that a lot of extension work is going on. And we've also persuaded the farmers that they must also adopt technology because land has become scarce. They must adopt technology that will give higher yields and will give, better yields to, within a smaller, area. Now, as for food security, I think the government, as I said, has really embarked on what I call an agricultural revolution. And I only took the example of rice. Today, we have increased our yam production, and we produce 70% of all the yams in the world today. And already, we're exporting yams to, the farmers rather are exporting yams to other parts of the country. But we are actually also have to address certain legislative issues, because I think before we came in, there was a ban on exportation of yams when we're trying to work on that. We produce about 10 million metric tons of maize today, and we are probably the biggest in Africa. We are definitely #1 in the world for cassava, and while the Anchor Borers program is today zeroing just on rice, there are other agricultural programs that are going on that will also address other staple food. But the important thing is that from just about 3 metric tons of rice being produced, today we've hit an all-eye of almost 7 metric tons of rice. And we hope that in the next 2 years, we are going to be self-sufficient, at least in rice. Thank you.
Right, Mr. Just quickly return to the issue of clashes in the herders and farmers. Yeah. There have been reports, and sometimes security agencies have brought out people who were neither farmers nor herdsmen in the real sense of it, but who have taken advantage of the situation and have engaged in criminal activities. What is the government's response to that?
See, Mr. Stober, you remember I said it's a combination of sheer criminality in addition to whatever has been the demographic and environmental issue. That you see, a bandit is a bandit, a criminal is a criminal. And the various army, police, security, joint forces are addressing these issues. And I think a lot of arrests have been made. And unless people are not being fair to this government, I think the frequency and the scale of these clashes are actually on the decline. Of course, once in a while we are going to have, some sensationally reported, stories. But the point to make is that the government is firmly in control. The government is addressing the issue, and we hope, and we're very confident rather, that very soon we'll have contained these, clashes.
All right, let's go back to the phone now. We have a caller from Maiduguri, and yes. Hello.
Hello, yes. My contribution is that I want to commend the federal government and the Buhari administration on the laudable achievement about sustaining the security in Maiduguri and environment. But the social investment program, please, I just want to put my question directly to the minister. It says the NPOA scheme, yes, it is elapsing. The first phase is elapsing by this December. Is there any plan for the youth for any continuation?
All right, could you repeat that question?
Yes, I said the NPOA scheme is elapsing this December. The first phase is elapsing this December. So I want to know if the minister and the administration has any plan for the youth after this program has ended.
Okay. All right. Fine. Straight away he says the NPOA is ending in December this year. He wants to know if the government has any plans for the youth beyond the NPOA, which he says will lapse in December.
Well, the NPOA is actually a 2-year program. The NPOA is not supposed to be permanent employment. It's supposed to be a stopgap that will allow these beneficiaries to acquire skill and move on in their life, move on and also become solution providers. And yes, we have employed 200,000, but another 300,000 Empower beneficiaries have been screened, and we are just waiting for the 2018 budget to take them on. But you see, Empower is not a permanent job. It's not a job for life. It's supposed to prepare you for the future, and that is why it's more of skill acquisition, and you become also a solution provider yourself.
All right, let's still go back to Maiduguri, where Governor Shettima is, and yes, a little more on the scarcity of land, the loss of livelihoods, and we might just say to the governor at this time, how far with the rehabilitation process for those who have been displaced, seeing that many of them are farmers, they've lost their farms, their source of livelihood. How is that impacting on the rebuilding of the Northeast? And what's been done particularly to ensure that these farmers can get back to the land, even as land is scarce? Now, you heard the minister talk about, the environment, climate change, which is another source of worry in terms of food security. Governor Kashim Shettima.
Thank you so much, Cyril. The word for crisis in the Chinese language is Wei Des. Wei stands for danger and Des for opportunity. As terrible as the crisis that engulfs the Northeast also is, it also provides us a vista of opportunity to re-engineer our society into a better place. And along this line, apart from building homes, securing livelihoods, the most important thing is for us to put our people in Jeffrey Sachs' first ladder of development. 100 years ago, our people were using hoes and cutlasses to eke out a meager existence. Now, with the demographic challenges, with the incestuous relationship between climate change, environmental degradation, and population explosion, we have to embrace modernity. And in all the communities that we are rebuilding, we are investing heavily on center pivot irrigation, on sprinkler irrigation, and because of our terrain, which is more or less half of it is arid desert, we are also investing heavily in drip irrigation technology, because the whole mantra is on increase in yield. And we either adopt change, we either embrace change, we either embrace modernity, or will be left behind. And to be fair to the average Nigerian, entrepreneurial capitalism is embedded in the very psyche of the average Nigerian, but our people lack the wherewithal to really pursue productive ventures. So along this line, with the reimagined peace, we have reconstructed Burma. About 10,961 homes were rebuilt in Burma. The people of Gamborungala had gotten back home. The people of Askira Uba went back home nearly a year or two ago. And we are making strenuous efforts to restore back the dignity of our people. Yes, we are poor, but we can carry our poverty with dignity. In as much as we respect international conventions, we will not compel anybody to go back to his or her place of abode, unless we are absolutely certain that there is relative peace in that neighborhood. But be rest assured that in partnership with the federal government, with the robust support of President Muhammadu Buhari, be rest assured that before the year runs out, we believe that all our people, all our internally displaced people, will go back to their homes, especially the people of Marte, the people of Abadam, and of course the people of Guzamala, where there is a very robust framework being put in place by the Nigerian army to support the people to go back and pick up the pieces of their livelihood. But be rest assured that we are poised to add value to the lives of our people, invest heavily in education, because education is the greatest game changer. Within a generation, the son of a pauper can be a celebrated icon, especially on girl child education. So our approach is actually a much more holistic, encompassing the economic, the social, and the security architecture. And in the security architecture, we have to commend the Nigerian armed forces. The Nigerian army is acquitting itself marvelously well. So also the Nigerian police force, and all other security arms are really supporting us towards our efforts in returning our people back to their homes.
Still from Maiduguri, we have a caller, Ahmed, calling in from Maiduguri. Hello, Ahmed, go right ahead.
Hello, good evening, sir. This is Ahmed from Maiduguri, Borno State Capital. I would like to talk about the present administration, which the work that I've done so far and the progress have been made so far. Kudos to the both President Muhammadu Buhari and His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Borno State. And my straight point is that so far, what is the progress that, what is the assurance that the Borno State can give to the IDPs that are in Maiduguri? Because if it could recall, almost 25 of the local governments were all internally displaced persons, and they are in this thing, they are in the camp up to now, and up to now, the Borno State Governor didn't give any assurance for their return to their various communities to do their normal lives activities normally, and the security also is another problem, another outside challenges to them. So the IDPs are still in need of the help of the Borno State Governor, because the way they live in the camps actually is very burden. If it could be seen and if it could be investigated, the thing is very burden. So my question goes to the Borno State Governor, and I would like to talk about this thing, the security problem that doubling the state again in particular. Because if it could recall, in recent 3 to 2 weeks back before the Ramadan, there are some attacks comes through the axis of the Borno State, but yet up to now there is no any steady security that have stagnated the place up to now. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And straight away, the governor would respond to the issues you have just raised. Hopefully, you heard everything you said there. Governor Shetima.
Thank you so much, Ahmed. Thank you so much on the issues you have raised. When we finished reconstructing Bama, we're about 75%. And we said people should return back to their homes. At a point in time, we had to start begging the people to go back in batches. I would like you to visit the Dalori camp along Bama Road. You will see that it has been depopulated by up to 80%. We are making strenuous efforts towards providing livelihood support, towards rebuilding homes, schools, hospitals, so that our people can go back before the end of this year so that they can pick up the pieces of their lives. And on the security situation, I want you to have one thing in mind. This is an asymmetric war, where the terrorists literally dictate the pace of the war. Remember, in 2012, only 8 terrorists held Mumbai, a city of 18.4 million, to ransom for 3 days. So definitely I'm not discounting the fact that we are getting pockets of challenges here and there. But when you juxtapose the sorry state of affairs 4 years ago and what it is now, we have to give kudos to the Buhari administration for the sea change in our security fortunes. They attacked Maiduguri about 3 weeks ago. Even 3 days ago, they killed about 2 or 3 people in Limankara in Goza local government. But believe me, hope springs eternal from the hearts of men. I'm being rational, I'm being realistic. I believe that we have crossed the Rubicon, we are on a path to sustain peace, and we are building back better. Homes destroyed, like if you go to Ngom in partnership with the UNDP, we are building new model of houses. Because, we are in some sort of a time capsule, Ahmed. I have a picture of Dikwa town taken in 1900. If you juxtapose that picture of Dikwa town taken in 1900 with a picture taken in 2018, you won't see any remarkable difference, apart from some few islands of affluence, of government presence, of the Shehus Palace, of the local government secretariat, of a bank. Our people are in some sort of a time capsule. So we need to make efforts. The houses, 70% of the houses of our people are made of cornstalk and thatch roofs. we have to make efforts to build back better, and be rest assured, I want to give you my word, and my word is my bond. We have a robust framework of returning back our people. We are partnering with the Nigerian security establishment. I've spoken severally with the Chief of Army Staff, with the Chief of Air Staff, with the Inspector General of Police, but there are certain things that discretion is the better part of valor that cannot be said openly. But believe me, we have arrangements in the pipeline of returning back our people to their homes, restoring back their dignity, which is the most important thing, and of course providing livelihood. Mind you, because of Boko Haram, we have set a total number of 54,911 widows and 52,311 orphans. These are not figures that I concocted, no. These are figures obtained as per the Recovery and Peace Building Assessment conducted by the World Bank in partnership with the European Union and the Presidency. So we had a humongous task ahead of us, a very huge task. But where there is the will, there is always the way. I am an eternal optimist. I am absolutely certain that in the fullness of time, the 1,000 years of recorded history of our people will be regained back, and we shall bounce back like the bird phoenix.
Thank you, Governor Shatima. Well, we have our last caller tonight, Joseph from Umar here. If he's still on the line. Is Joseph still on the line? Okay, go ahead, Joseph from Umar here. All right.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
The moderator. Good evening, my moderator.
Yes, go ahead. Go right ahead.
Good evening, Honorable Minister of Information. Good evening, my moderator. And good evening, the Honorable Minister of Information.
Yes, thank you. Joseph, just go right ahead.
I want to check in is the area of times of the money assistance which President Muhammadu Buhari gave to the state governor. The assistance which President Muhammadu Buhari gave to the state governors. There is something he has to do there. He did not supervise that money he gave to the state governors for them to pay salaries, arrears, and allowances, both to the workers and to the pensioners. So this area has been a problem which people have been capitalizing upon, hammering upon, that Buhari has to supervise the state governors. And why they are doing this, people, the ignorant ones would be calling Buhari, why the state governors are the one holding them down. Another area I want him to look at is the relationship between the National House of Assembly and the executive. You remember that the APC is the majority members in the House of Assembly. If you look at the American system, it is the president and the party chairman that are supposed to arrange those who will guard the National Assembly. And by so doing, it will not ridicule the activities of the president down. And if you look at that, you see that the National Assembly of Nigeria is being hijacked by the opposition. It is what the opposition do. That's what they are doing, because they have been bought over. The APC party in the National Assembly have been bought over. They are under the ridicule of the opposition party. So it's unfair. They have to checkmate on this. Next time they are coming up, they have to put their house in order. Know those who will be, who will terrorize the leadership of National Assembly, so that they will not come and start fighting each other. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much, Joseph from Umar here. We have taken note of the two issues you raised. First, to do with the bailout funds which the states got. And, of course, you also talked about executive legislature relations. Those issues we have noted. The minister will address them as well as our other guests. But at this point, let's hear what the citizens are saying about 3 years of the Buhari administration.
19 years is not much, and 19 years is not too small. If you born a child and it's 19 years, there are some things that you expect the child to be doing. So if the child is not doing it, you will also feel that the child is not growing and there's a problem. Like in democracy, you expect a reasonable level of development, infrastructure, or if there is no infrastructure, there should be policy on ground that will aid the infrastructure development. My take, they need to put policies in place to aid both security and economy.
Let the government place value on its citizens. Okay? Let's play down politics and increase humanity. Right? It is because of the people that we have a government. When you don't care for the people and you say you are, you have your government is the best, and when you don't care for the people, it's only noise making. Right? So the important thing is let's focus on the welfare of the masses.
We say the 3 years of President Muhammadu Buhari has been success in some areas. But what I really don't like about this government is their blame game we're going to eat. We know.
All right. Well, we're sampling the citizens' opinions about the 3 years of this administration. Well, we couldn't conclude that. But the issues are still right here with us in the studio, and we'll raise them with the Minister of Information and our other guests. And we start off from what Joseph said before we took the views of the citizens, and that had to do with not supervising how the bailout funds were utilized by the states, and of course the matter of executive legislature relations. And let's not forget that there's still the big fight that is going on, corruption. So, Minister, let's start from that premise.
Well, I think quickly, on the first issue of bailout funds, regrettably, under the Constitution, the federal government has little or no control over states or local government as to what they do with their funds. But we believe that our governors are very responsible and that they will make judicious use of money made available to them. But I think I just want to put on record again that this administration has made available to states 1.9 trillion naira to help them pay salaries and also settle pension claims. Because we believe that even though we are not obliged by the Constitution to so do, in the spirit of inclusiveness, this is what the federal government has done. As to the executive legislative relationship, we'll continue to work better. We'll continue to understand one another better. Democracy is a journey, and don't forget that this is the first time we're having this unbroken, almost 20 years, democracy. But the both executive and legislative is in the interest, of the country that we work together. And I'm sure both of us we know that at the end of the day, our major objective is to impact positively on the lives of the common people. So I think we'll continue to work on those relationships.
All right, this next issue would go around with all our guests, but we have to start with you, Minister, because you speak for the government of Nigeria. The opposition says all the time that the corruption fight is selective and is ineffective. Is there any truth in that allegation?
I think it's absolute bunkum. You see, the first tranche of the allegation that corruption, our fight against corruption is selective. I think they started singing this refrain the moment I published the list of alleged looters. But it's important to understand the context and the background of that publication. It was a response to a challenge by the PDP. The Vice President delivered the paper somewhere in Lagos. In the course of the delivery, I think he stated that just before elections in 2015, the then PDP administration distributed $259 million. And PDP challenged him to name those who benefited from that $259 million. That was what prompted me to release that list. That, yes, it is true, and these are the various, people that have been prosecuted one way or the other for having looted the treasury. So really, it must be seen from that context. But the fight against corruption is holistic, and nobody has an immunity just because he's a member of the APC. And like I challenge those who accuse us of one-sided fight, I ask them, I say, listen, tell me one person who has decamped from PDP to APC and charges against him have been dropped on account of his coming into APC. So and that's why I say I think it's just, it's not true. I think the second leg of a question is whether our fight against corruption is ineffective. Yes. Yeah, you see, you don't fight corruption just by prosecuting those who have looted your treasury. What this government has done is we have been fighting corruption at the very core. But people have not paid attention to what we are doing. And I'll just give you 2 or 3 examples. We introduced the whistleblower policy. With the whistleblower policy, be able to recover 13.8 billion naira from tax evaders alone, 7.8 billion naira, $378 million, and 27,200 pounds from public officials who have unjustly enriched themselves. This is just from the whistleblower policy. Now, we did not introduce the TSA, but this is the only administration that has faithfully implemented the TSA. And with the implementation of TSA, we'll be able to block leakages. As of today, we've been able to collect over 8.9 trillion naira to the TSA. You see, if you do not block the leakages, you cannot fight corruption effectively. And I will also say this, that part of our fight against corruption is the various units we've set up in the Ministry of Finance. In particular, we have what we call the Efficiency Unit in Ministry of Finance. And through the Efficiency Unit in Ministry of Finance today, we've been able to save 17 billion naira from, travels, ESTA code, and the like. And in addition to this, our, efficiency unit has been able to weed up over 20,000 ghost workers. So our approach to fighting corruption is holistic. This is in addition to the various anti-corruption agencies who are doing their own bit in fighting corruption.
Okay, let's take this issue of corruption to Professor Kabir Matu in Kaduna. Yes, Professor Matu is still with us in our Kaduna Center? Yes, right, Prof. Well, you do hear people say, yes, there is a fight against corruption, but we only hear about it at the federal level, that the states are not keen into that, and not much is heard about an anti-corruption fight in the states. How do you respond to that, particularly in Kaduna State, for instance?
Well, I think it's not a fair statement. In Kaduna, we are doing very well. We have, legislations by Kaduna State House of Assembly to ensure. And in fact, Kaduna State is one of the few, the only state in Nigeria, I will say, that is into this, open government, initiative. So. States are also doing very well. At least I know in Kaduna we are doing very well. Corruption is a very serious issue which the government, is leaving no stone unturned in fighting it. But, sharing the discussion, with the members of the panel, I think one thing that needs to be understood is that, the stakes are now very high. Previously, Nigerians, especially in public positions, committed corruption or acts of corrupt practices with impunity, because there were no actually visible possibilities of getting them apprehended. Today, it's not possible to completely eliminate corruption from public life, but what I'm saying is that the stakes are really very high, to the extent that public officials know that once they indulge in corruption and they are caught, then they are going to pay the supreme price. So this in itself, in my view, is a very fundamental success that this government in Abuja is achieving. And also for us here, like I did say in Kaduna, we're taking the matter very seriously to the extent that, we have our own state anti-corruption law, which, has been passed by the Kaduna State House of Assembly. So I don't know, yes, like the Minister of Information is saying, states are a tier of government that are supposed to operate perhaps independent of the federal state. In our own case, I know the efforts that we are putting in place to ensure probity and accountability. And of course, absence of corruption or reducing corruption to a very minimal level is responsible for the massive investment that we are receiving in Kaduna today. Earlier in the program, we spoke about the issue of ease of doing business. Nigeria moving 24 places, in the world. Kaduna, perhaps, was ranked as the best state or the easiest state to do business in Nigeria in 2017. And a lot of the investment, of course, are coming from outside, even though a lot are within the country. But it clearly shows that an investor will not like to go and invest in an environment that is bedeviled by corruption. So I think states on their own are also, individually doing their own bits in order to ensure that, especially, of course, the APC states that, extended the power as a result of the desire of Nigerians to see this corruption in officialdom being seriously and drastically reduced, so that public resources is deployed efficiently for the betterment of their lives. And of course, if you see the quantum infrastructure that is being put in place across Kaduna State today, rehabilitation and renovation in the area of education, township roads, health services, and so on and so forth, you will agree that, of course, corruption is being seriously fought.
Back here in Abuja, Dr. Maduekwe, two things we'd like you to comment on. Yes, the anti-corruption fight, how effective it has been, and the other matter where, again, from the opposition, from some opposition members, say that this government has not carried along the Southeast. How do you respond to that?
That's what I started by saying about cynicism. Humongous amount of fund has been poured into the Southeast, despite the fact that the president did not have any commensurate vote from that. But because we have a president who is not sectional, who believes is the father of the nation, he has carried Southeast alone. And the facts are there. And I wonder why, when those who want to make the criticism, they just turn blind eye to the fact. Recently, the vice president have brought Southeast, Abia in particular, into focus. And many times he had traveled to Abia to set up the MSNM focus labs and all that. You find out that about 10 billion naira allocation has been released to the Enyimba Industrial Park and the Newi Auto Park as part of the FG's Special Economic Southeast Focus Zone. So you cannot get the FG sending money to the auto park and you say that they are not doing anything. Again, the FG has a policy. Take, for example, the fertilizer policy. It was only Ebonyi State that keyed into it. There were other states, particularly in the north, that keyed into it. The AG comes with a program and want everybody in the country, in the southeast, in the southwest, to key into it. And they drag their feet. But still, the AG will go to them, say, no, they are part of Nigeria. We are going to care about them. It is the same Buhari administration that decided to pay pension fees to Nigerian Biafran citizens that were Nigerian police. An approval that was gotten since 2000. And none of the past PDP regime for 16 years consider it benevolent to discharge that responsibility. Buhari, in his wisdom, directed that those pensions be paid to the former Biafran police officers. These are things we should clap hands for him, but we find out that we are bedeviled with gross element of cynicism because they are still thinking that it's PDP that should be president. We have run election, and election is over. I invite my people to know that all that the Mr. President is doing, for them to see him from the father figure and move on. Then when the issue of the Sukuk bond came, 16 point something billion was equally shared in all the 6 geopolitical zones. Today we have good road running from Onitsha to Enugu. But instead of we applauding that, again, cynicism means that somebody will come and say it is only 1 lane. But we forgot that for the last 16 years, he never had even 1 lane running between Enugu and Onitsha. Today, the 2nd lane is being done. The same thing is happening with the Enugu-Port Harcourt road. Again, just take the instance of Aba to Port Harcourt. The first of its kind in the entire country, a 16-lane superhighway, which Fashola said they have released the money, initial money for that, has been put, instead of repairing the road between Port Harcourt and Aba, the way it was done since the time of the military. Buhari administration, bearing in mind the high concentration of industrial, enclaves in that area and human population, decided to create a 16-lane superhighway, the first of its kind in Nigeria, to the southeast between Port Harcourt and Aba. A man who does that, do you really have reason to say he does not like the southeast? It didn't end there. You know about the presidential approval for commencement of the coastal railway line. And this railway line are going to pass through most of the states in the southeast. Even when by geography, they are very close to one another. Still, the president insisted that this coastal railway line will pass through Abia, Umuahia, Owerri, Onitsha. These are distances that are not up to 80 kilometers. You now have the area market power project, which is in progress. The vice president was there for the first time, and today, as we speak, about 20,000 lock-up shops in our area in Aba are being provided with independent power direct supply. Why is that? Because they want to develop the economy in the southeast, because when the economy in the southeast is developed, it trickles off all over in the entire country. You can see that, okay, you talk about the Ekotekpenim, Aloji switching stations, all this to bring power. There's over 600-kilometer roads under construction in the five eastern states. Right. Can you have all this going on for people that did not give you up to 0.35% of the total presidential vote, and you said that he does not care about you? Before I end, I want to remind our people that the former premier of Eastern Nigeria, M.I. Okpara, a very powerful and erudite, sagacious politician, went to Calabar after he lost election and pulled back the pipelines from Calabar because they didn't vote for him. Buhari have not done so. So we should be able to know that this Buhari is a man who is colorblind in terms of which religion you come from, which ethnicity you are from. He says he's a Nigerian, he's very altruistic Nigerian, and his focus and agenda is for every section of Nigeria to come up. And that's exactly what he is preaching. And I wish people in the Southeast can speak to the facts and not cynicism and not fake news and not twists and turns of convoluted ideas that have no place in the annals of development.
All right. Well, I just remind Dr. Maduoke that in addition to what you have said, another $5 million was released to the Federal Medical Center, Umuahia, through the National Sovereign Investment Authority to build a modern diagnostic center. And that would be opened before the end of this year. Just to remind him.
All right. So, because we're in the last few minutes of this program, let's take the issue of the anti-corruption fight to the governor of Borno State, who's with us here. And like we said to Professor Kabir Matu, a lot of people would say, well, not much is heard of in terms of that in the States. That's on one leg. And the other side of it, too, we have had complaints from places that receive bailout funds and we're not able to pay salaries. And it doesn't seem to be happening like that in Borno State. So what is it?
Thank you so much, Cyril. I want to just spend a minute or two to comment on Dr. Maduike's comment. Mao Zedong said it doesn't matter whether the cat is black or white so long as it will catch the mice. And I want to really correct him on one thing. The Igbo nation, the Ndigbo, played the most prominent role in the emergence of the present dispensation in the country. And you will say, why? States that hitherto were generating 1 million votes for the PDP. The Ndigbo in the APC fought vigorously through the card system. And some of the states were posting 200, 300 votes. And that really impacted positively on the bottom line of the APC. So we have to give credit to the Ndigbo for checkmating the excesses of the PDP regime machine in the southeast. Coming to the issue of corruption, the body language of the president is palpably clear to any discerning mind that there is zero tolerance towards corruption. And in the states, I was opportune to be part of the last dispensation, and I'm equally part of the present dispensation. Believe me, we would not intend to play to the gallery. There has been a noticeable improvement in the quality of governance. Governance that are responsive, governance that value giving back to their people the dividends, the genuine dividends of democracy in terms of investments in healthcare, in education, in job creation. And by and large, I think we are the most demonized class of Nigerians, but believe me, governors are doing their best. And for us in Borno, we could not afford not to pay salaries because we might end up compounding our security challenges with a labor unrest. So whatever the first line charge on our account, our statutory allocation, hovers in the neighborhood of 3, 4, 5 billion. And our first line charge has to do with the payment of salaries. About 2.8 billion in the past. We instituted a biometric exercise, and it has plummeted to about 2.4 billion naira pensions and salaries. And be rest assured that at any point in time, we have in our reserves sufficient funds to pay our salaries before the inflow of the Federation account, or in the event there is a delay in the inflow from the Federation account. Because we have to do so in our enlightened self-interest. If we want to keep the peace, the fragile peace in our state, we cannot afford to compromise on the issue of payment of salaries and pensions of our civil servants. And anyway, they are the poorest of the poor. Actually, their take-home pay doesn't take them home. It only makes them eligible for the next tranche of loan from the neighborhood store. So our heart goes out to our workers in the state, and we do our best to fulfill our own part of the bargain.
It's at this point we have to thank you very much, Governor Kashim Shettima of Borno State, for coming on this program. We thank you for spending time with us on Democracy Day to talk about the issues we have been dwelling on. So thank you very much, Governor Kashim Shettima, for being with us on this program. Thank you. And also to Professor Kabir Matu, who joined us from our Kaduna Network Center. We'd like to thank you for your time. Thank you so much for being part of this discussion, Prof. And back here in Abuja studios, we'd like to say thank you to Dr. Chidia Maduike for being here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Right. Minister, this is where we'll round off, but not without chipping in this little bit. Maybe in a few seconds. Is the APC a house divided against itself?
Mr. Stover, whatever we are going through in APC today is not strange to any political party, but one thing I can assure you that we are going to come back stronger and better.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Minister. Also, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you very much.
Right. And that's our program. We thank you for being part of it. Next week, we'll reach you again on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Bye for now.